Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Awesome, awesome. Let's get our lesson started for today. So, in the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about balancing forces. We talked about different kinds of force. Raise your hand if you can tell me what's one force we talked about. Logan? Gravity. Is that touching or non-touching force? Non-touching. Very good. What's another force? Chloe? Is that touching or non-touching? Non-touching, very good. What is a touching force we've talked about? What's a touching force? Naomi? Push or pull, very good. These are great forces that we've been talking about so far. We had one in our handbook of forces. Do y'all remember that one? It makes your hair go really poofy. Electrostatic force. Very good. Electrostatic force. Electrostatic force. All right? So we're going to get into today's lesson, which is about observing evidence of gravity. Okay? So our I can objective for today is I can observe and record evidence of gravity. Remember, observing is whenever we use our five what class? Senses. And what are those senses? Sight, smell, and touch. Very good. Today we are going to use our sense of sight and our sense of touch in our experiment for today. And yes, we have an experiment that we're going to do. Awesome. All right, so before we get into our experiment for today, let's revisit the floating train, okay? Let's review what we've discovered about the train. We know that the train doesn't stay along the track the entire time touching it. It actually does what? It floats. It rises up. It floats. It hovers. Okay. Okay. And then whenever it stops, what happens to it? It falls back down. So remember that the train falls back down to the track at the end of whatever its trip is going to. We're going to think about that part today. And we're going to investigate the question, why does the train fall? Raise your hand if you can remind me what investigate means. What does investigate mean? Genesis? Looking back. Okay, that's a good question. That's a good option. What else, Aaliyah? Looking back and seeing if you're right. Okay. Anybody else? Braxton? Searching into something. Very good. To find proof. And what's another word for proof, Braxton? Evidence. Very good. Ooh, y'all are so good this morning. Woo. All right, so let's get into it. So we're going to use our think, pair, share like we normally do to discuss the question, why does the train fall? Okay, you know your partners. Ready, set, go. Right, so are you thinking something? Kind of similar to what you were saying? Great. Good job, guys. Good job. Nicholas, are you telling your ideas? Sure. Very good. Okay, wonderful. And what is Lauren? Right, so what's the electromagnet doing? Dog. So would it be turning on or would it be turning off when the train goes off? So you're thinking something similar about what Lauren is. Very good. Girls, what are you guys thinking? Okay, and what is that word whenever they stick together? Very good. Awesome. Oh, the here, girls. Here. Okay. 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 But do we know the speed at which it moves? No. So, it could be back. It could be gravity, right? Right. So what do you think? All right, very good. All right, guys, let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. Now we're going to share what our groups have said. I walked around, I heard some incredible things. Y'all are really sticking to what we learned in the last few weeks, and I am loving it. You guys are doing great. All right, Logan and Giannis, let's hear what you guys have to say first. I really, really enjoyed and appreciated listening to y'all explanation about what was happening here.
When we did the popsicle stick, when we flipped it, the magnets flip and probably gravity pull it down too. When they probably put a switch, probably a button, and it gets it stuck in probably like when your hair.
Okay. That sounds a little bit different from what y'all had told me though when I came around to this area. You switched it, okay. So we had some different ideas flowing. All right, fantastic. Thank you for your contribution in this group. Right? What about you guys? Right here. Tell me what's happening.
A little and a little like windmill. Gravity. Because you know how the wind pulls it like gravity.
Right? Chloe, let's listen. Let's appreciate. Let's listen. So we're thinking gravity is what pulls the train down onto the track. Okay, so you think the magnets flip and you think it's gravity. All right. Okay. But we don't know the speed at which it falls. Right. Okay, very good. Very good. All right. You girls.
And like when we got
Aaliyah, let's listen.
there's a magnet that like there's like really strong magnets like each other and hover over and when it gets to the stopping point it flips over.
Okay, I really love and appreciate how you use the word repel. Really taking that science vocabulary that we learned and putting it into our explanations now. So very good, sister. Very good. All right, and this crew back here, I'd like to hear what this crew has to say. Go ahead, Aaliyah.
Turned on and it started stopping and
Very good. I like that you used electromagnets and you used the word attract. Like I told Chloe, you're using that science vocabulary correctly, and I'm loving it. It's so great. So fantastic. Magnetic force. And is magnetic force a touching or non-touching force? Non-touching. Very good. Very, very good. All right. So now let's move into activity number 2 and investigate gravity. All right. So today we're going to investigate this question, what makes any object fall? So we're going to test out a couple of things today. We're going to have a book, a paper clip, and a popsicle stick, okay? So we will be using our senses of sight and touch, like I mentioned earlier, to observe evidence of these three objects being pushed or pulled to the ground, okay? So as you can see in this slide, we have a little block here. For some reason, those were not included in the kit. So instead of using the little block, we're going to use our handy dandy popsicle sticks. We're going to use those instead, okay? All right. So guys, as we observe our findings, we are going to turn to page 28 in our science investigation notebook. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We should be there. We should be there. Page 28. 28. 28. Okay, page 28. All right, boys and girls. Now, I'm going to let you experiment. So the first thing I'm going to hand out to you is your book. Okay? Your book is Horses All Around. Have we seen this book before? Yes. But today we're using it for a different purpose. Today we are going to be using this to test gravity against pushes and pulls. Okay? So I am going to hand everyone out a Horses All Around book. You're welcome, ma'am. You're welcome. Here you go, Nicole. You're welcome. You're welcome. Here you go, Jan. Next, I'll hand everyone out a paper clip, okay? You don't need to open your book just yet. Now, these paper clips are kind of small, so please make sure that you know where your paper clip is at all times so it doesn't get lost. Look down. Thank you. There you go. You're welcome. And last but not least, I'm going to give you your popsicle stick. And you know what's even more awesome about these? They have your name on it. Braxton.
They don't get lost.
So they don't get lost. Visual activity today. Genesis, Naomi, watch out, baby, on the ground. Lauren and Aaliyah. Nicholas, please put them on your desk until we get started. Loaded. There we go. All right, boys and girls. So here's how we're going to do this. You are going to test out each of your objects. Okay, I'm just going to use Braxton's for an example. You're going to test out each of your objects following the directions in your book. Okay? So number 1 says try to find evidence of a downward force on the paperclip, the domino, and the book. Well, instead of the domino, we are using our popsicle stick. Our popsicle stick. Okay? Then we will use our sense of sight and our sense of touch to record and observe what's going on. And then you can drop the paperclip on the domino, but you cannot drop the book. Record your observations below. Use the following sentence starters when you write. I saw. So if we use the word saw, that means we're using our sense of sight. Okay? If I say I felt, that means I'm using my sense of touch. Very good. So in this first set of blanks here, these are your observations from your sense of sight. The next set of blanks is your observations from your sense of touch. Very good. So now remember, guys, you can test out a downward force, which would be what force are we learning about? Gravity. Very good. You can test out gravity's force on your popsicle stick and your paper clip by letting it fall onto the ground. However, can you do that same thing with your book?
No.
No. Okay? Go ahead and get started. Go ahead and get started, guys. So remember, we are looking for a downward force. So if I were to take this popsicle stick and I am exerting force with it right now by holding it up into the air, guys, what would happen if I just dropped it?
Gravity would pull it down.
Gravity would what?
Pull it down.
Pull it down. Is that evidence of a force?
Yes.
All right, great. Continue experimenting. That's correct. Everybody would be floating. Chloe. Definitely. The book is you're not on the right page. Be on this page. We need to make sure we're on the right page. Okay? This is page 28, so this is the one you need to be on. Page 1. So this, guys, is if you want to push and pull on your desk, or use the book to push and pull your objects. You can drop it onto your desk, but you cannot drop it onto the floor. Okay? Yes, sir, the book. Very good. So record what you just saw using your Nicholas. Okay? Very good. I love that Lauren has already gotten started on her observation. Good. Make sure you turn around and record your observations. If you have a question, you need to raise your hand. Leah, I think you've already started. Okay. Nicholas, you need to raise that hand, sweetheart. Let's make sure we're on page 28. Do you have a question? Okay, so you know what you're seeing. Holding what? Very good. Holding the what is holding? How do you say that? Sentence starter. What's this word? Good. Naomi? Yes. These are your sentence starters. So for your observations for your sense of sight, you would say, I saw. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. And also to list pages. Okay? Okay, so your observations on what you see around. Yes. Thank you for raising your hand. Spell it the best way you can. Spell it the best way you can. Let's see who's gonna know what you're talking about. Would anyone like to share what they're seeing with their sense of sight so far? Naomi?
I couldn't.
Okay, good. Logan, what are you seeing? Have a seat, Mona. What are you seeing? Okay. What do you think made that possible? Right. I like that. Okay, great. Yes. Chloe.
I put my paper clip onto my nipples and push this off.
Okay. And remember, we're supposed to be pushing and pulling, right? So let's think about how we can either push or pull these objects that we have in front of us. Yes. Speak up a little bit, Aaliyah. Very good. Very good.
I want to share my
Yep, you need to raise your hand, sir. Fantastic. Fantastic. Very good. Very good. All right, Logan. Okay. And what made that book fall? Gravity pulled it down. But what made the book start moving? Very good. Very good. Right. Right. So you used your own force, your own touching force. Yes. These are your observations using your sense of touch. So what do you feel happening? What do you feel happening? You can record it. So now that we have finished our experiment, let's move on to our closing question. Is there evidence of a force on this block when it is dropped?
Yes.
Is there evidence of a force, Lauren? Yes. Who can tell me what that evidence is? Who can tell me what that evidence is? Yannick. Push. Push. Does anybody have anything different? Nicholas. Right. And what would that be? Yes, it is a force. Okay. We know that this is evidence of a force, but what is the evidence? What is the evidence? Tell me what he's doing that proves to us that this is evidence of a force.
Like it's a pull, like pulling it down.
What is pulling it down? Gravity. Okay. So for this block to start moving, though, this person holding it had to do what?
Drop it.
He had to drop it and he had to let go. He had to open his hand and let go of it. And once he opened his hand and let go of the block, what force took over? Gravity. So we just discussed what caused the object to start moving. That would be the drop of this person's hand as well as gravity. Very good. So we've talked about gravity before, but the true definition of gravity is the pull between Earth and other objects without anything touching. Without anything touching. All right, guys, fantastic job today. Are there any other questions about what we've learned so far today? Is there anything else you're eager to learn in the upcoming days of this week? Logan, you have a question or are you just stretching? Just stretching. All right, guys, fantastic job today.